Hello, all social media, biological family, all YouTubers, all Anjanet speakers, and everyone who is on this under the sound of my voice that will be hearing this podcast. This particular post. This one is going to go on to my Anjanet Speak blog. The name of it is Go Back to Fill in the Blank. Now, and the subtopic is why telling immigrants and African Americans to go back to the country of their ancestors or is racist and completely out of place to say. So, let me go into Donald Trump. This week, Donald Trump posted a tweet on his Twitter. And it was basically the gist of it was instead of complaining about this country, why not go back to your country of origin and fix things back up there? In other words, go back to where you came from. Now, I've had experience with this particular phrase. Only the way that it was worded to me was go back to Africa. Now, for those of you who don't know, I am African American. I am of African descent. I'm African American. My forefathers were of African descent. And since I'm a citizen of the United States, I was born here. Also would say that we were slaves at one point in this country, so we were brought over on ships and against our will. So when I hear a white person say that, it really bothers me because, number one, the people that I descended from didn't come here of their own free will. So when I have to hear someone who, number one, is of European descent, so you're like not from here anyway. On top of that, you being here was the result of your own treachery and thievery, or at least the people who you descended from. So I'm really not crazy about that sentiment. So I'm going to give some background. Now, it's suggested that the tweet was aimed at four women from the House of Representatives called the Squad. Let me look at my notations here. So the nickname that they gave them, called the Squad, was representative of the diversity of a younger political generation. It was coined by one of the women, a lady named Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, in an Instagram post that she posted a week after Election Day. So these were women who, they are black and brown women that were elected into Congress. Each of them was a first of her kind. I'm going to give you a little bit of background here. So the background of them, the first one that I want to name is Rashida Tlaib. She was born July 24th, 1976, and in Detroit, Michigan. Now, I want you, as I name the locations where they were born, make special note to keep that in your thinking, because I'm going to address that later on. Each of them is from the U.S. House of Representatives. She's also was in Michigan's 13th district, member of the Michigan's House of Representatives from January 2009 to December 2014. She was the first Pakistani American in Congress, and the first Muslim, one of two Muslims that got out of this group of young ladies that got elected. She is a member of the Democratic Socialists of America. She was the third person out of the DSA member to serve in Congress. and the first female member of the DSA in Congress. Now, the young lady that I mentioned earlier, and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, was born October 13th, 1989, so she's a youngster. She's probably about a year younger than my son, in New York City. So she's from New York City's 14th district. She's the youngest woman to ever serve in Congress. She is also a member of the DSA. Her and Rashida Tlaib, the lady I just named, along with being one of the first two Muslims to be in, no, she wasn't Muslim. The other lady, one of the other ladies I'm going to name is Muslim. Okay. Let me see. Along with Tlaib, she was one of the first two people out of the DSA. I just named that. So she's also the first member to serve from the Bronx. So she's from New York City. She's from a section of New York City called the Bronx. And ironically, when they showed tape footage after Donald Trump posted this tweet, she said, okay, yeah, I guess I'll go all the way back to the Bronx. So the next lady is Ayanna Pressley, born February 3rd, 1974, from Cincinnati, Ohio. She was a member of the Boston City Council from January 2010 to January 2019. First black woman to be voted into Congress from Massachusetts. So she was born in Cincinnati, but she made it to Massachusetts, in Boston, Massachusetts, and served in their city council. And she was the first black woman to be voted into the Boston City Council. So each of these women was a trendsetter before they hit Congress. Not only were they the first of their kind to hit Congress, but they were record makers all the way along. So now the last one, Ilhan Omar, born October 4th, 1982, in Mogadishu, Somalia. So she's the only lady that I've named so far that wasn't born in the United States. Also from Minneapolis. She was from Minneapolis, Minnesota, 5th District. Served in Minnesota's House of Representatives from 2017 to 2019. First Somalian American to make it into one of two. I think she's the other one that was a Muslim. Yeah. Her and Miss Tlaib were the first two Muslim women to get voted in, to be elected to Congress. The first non-white woman voted from Minnesota. And so you have their history. So the reason why I ask, if you're listening to this, the reason why I ask that you keep track of where I'm saying they're born from, because, him saying this, he made the assumption, based on the fact that they're black and brown women, that they weren't citizens here. So 3 of them were born in the United States. The one is a naturalized citizen of the United States. Now, a naturalized citizen is basically a person who is a non-citizen of a country, but acquired citizenship through legal means. Whether it was some people acquire it through birth, and then some people go ahead and fill in an application and go through the necessary oaths in order to become citizens here. So, that would be legal means. Now, let me see here. So I gave a little bit of background about the nickname, the squad, because when I was doing my research for their backgrounds, I was like, okay, well, I wonder why they call them the squad. And I'll be showing pictures of them. I will go ahead and post some additional information on the Anjanette Speak blog, along with this blog post and bit of a slideshow. I'm also going to post the actual tweet because I wound up finding it on Twitter, the actual commentary that he made. A lot of people, even some black people were like, well, he really wasn't, what he was saying wasn't racist. So the first time I heard anybody mention it was you at DL Hughley's Instagram, which I follow. And I commented, and one of the things I said was, it is very racist. I have had people on more than one occasion in the past tell me to go back to Africa. Now, number one, it assumes I'm from Africa, which, in some cases they would be correct. As an African American, I am descended of Africa. I am very proud of who I am as a African American woman, as a descendant of Africans. I have no qualms about it. I have no shame about it. One of these days, I'm going to go into some of the teachings concerning race, and you'll understand why it is important to me to be very, very proud of my ethnicity, because for the very longest in this country, black was seen as something as being inferior. So when I hear a white person say it, I'm like, okay, you say that like you expect me to be ashamed of where I'm from. I'm not ashamed of where I'm from in the least. Don't wish I were white, have no desire to be white. I love myself black. Something that, I plan on teaching about in the future when it comes to our children. One of the things I have said, one of the things that I have been saying here in recent years is we need to teach our sons and daughters, our children from little people on. I've told my daughter, I've told my daughter repeatedly, my daughter's 24, that she is everything I ask for. Because I asked her, have you ever, experienced colorism of any kind? And so I told her, I said, I asked God for a chocolate princess. And he gave me you. You are exactly what I believe for. I believe for a healthy baby. I believe for a beautiful baby, brown baby girl to raise. So I have no stuff when it comes to that. I came from a background where there was some colorism. I had some very fair-skinned relatives in my family on my father's side. So I've had to deal with a little bit of that. Mercifully, God healed it. We have, many of those people went on to, marry people darker than them and produce darker, so it's funny. I went to the last family reunion and I saw more chocolate grandchildren there and everything. So that kind of tells you what God can do when you give all of that kind of stuff over to him. A lot of black families have had to be destroyed because of attitudes like that. So when I hear people say, well, there's nothing, all he said was, I said, well, first of all, it makes the assumption that they're not from here, but it also makes the assumption that as a Caucasian, you're a so-called real American, and that could not be anything further from the truth. You're not from here either. So, so the problems that I have with it, and I'll, go into my little outline here. Number one, like I said, there are assumptions associated. It assumes that all black or brown people are foreigners and that all Caucasians are real Americans. It also assumes that all Caucasians are the default setting for what constitutes true Americans, and we've already said that's not true. Most people of European descent are from England, Ireland, and some of the other European countries. It also, and this is, to me, like the really bad part, is it completely ignores that an entire civilization, actually many civilizations, were already here, of Native Americans were already populating the Americas. So, you hear of stuff like Cherokee, Iroquois, and different other, quote, nations or civilizations. So there were many, because remember, we are 50 states worth of people. So that means, there were 50 states worth of folks, different tribes, which meant different civilizations here already. So when you tell someone to go back to where they're from, you are not only trying to make yourself, as a white person, remember, as a white person, the only people who really have room to be telling anybody to go back to where they're from are the Native American. Okay, when I say Native American, I'm referring to Native American Indians, American Indians, and I'm also, who are known as what we call indigenous people. So indigenous people, indigenous people are people who were already on the land before there were any colonizers that showed up. So when you tell someone else, when you tell somebody else, or you try to dictate to someone else that they need, that they're not welcome here and that they need to go back to where they're coming from, what you're really trying to say is you're the default setting, that you're a true American. You're not. You're not. And you came to a land that was already populated, that already had nations here. So what is the issue with Donald Trump's tweet? Well, it's representative of the attitudes that I just described. Telling these women will go back to, and then he went on to, and you'll see in this tweet, to, say really, really terrible things about the countries that these women descend from. So it's almost like the one tweet about, I forget what country, what nation that was, that he called it a complete shithole. And it's not. So he insulted the people, insulted their culture, insulted where they come from. It's insulting all the way around. As I said earlier, 3/4 of the squad are born in the U.S., except for Miss Omar, who is a naturalized citizen. So it's really bad. I mean, I've said before, if you've listened to my radio broadcast on Station Head, Eclectic Weekends, you know that I've already said that this presidency is a bit of a joke. I've jokingly said to people that I've been setting this one out. I won't even look. I haven't looked at the State of the Union address. I haven't watched any live. I haven't watched any addresses that he's done on TV. It's like all I'm believing for is the day when they say that he has been impeached. Because I'm just so over the presidency. I'm so over, some of the stuff. I talked about how, many Mexican Americans are now being detained in what they basically may as well call concentration camps. And the ones who I think are here and they're here are being fined up to 6 figures for not going back. And I saw a post recently that I thought was really cold-hearted, because the person said, well, they don't have to pay a fixed 6-figure fine. They have the option of going back to their country. And I'm like, I don't think people in the United States understand that many of the people who are coming here from other countries, that there is a lot of stuff going on in these people's countries that is very bad. Their conditions are bad. If their conditions were good, who wants to come somewhere where the people who are already here that are not white are experiencing a whole lot of racism, or having rights denied, that are being pulled over by the police? And, it really gets bad when you have to talk in tongues when you have a police officer behind you, because you don't know if that stop is going to go left or not. So what other person of color, what other non-white person is trying to come here on purpose, except that things are not really good where they are? Okay, number one. Number two, like I said before, I really don't like the assumption that if you are black or brown, that you were not born here, that you are not a real American. That is anything but true. If you were born in this country, then you're American with all the same constitutional rights that any other American in this country has. I'm going through a little bit of a battle with a local denomination, and one of the battles is religious freedom. And I'm going to touch on that in a later teaching because, like I said, right now I'm doing a series, I'm in the middle of a series called How Respectability Politics Kills Black Women. And so last week I did a podcast where I did a posting where I talked about the whole issue of the Rihanna photo shoot and cultural appropriation. I'm trying to I will be talking even further. I plan on doing another podcast about, someone made some comments about Serena Williams also out of Harper's Bazaar. I'm like, Harper's Bazaar is just, featuring women of color. I mean, they're doing it, and they've been doing some really tasteful photo shoots. Someone commented on that last thread, which I appreciated, and they talked about the fact that appropriation would say that she was stealing, she did it. She was right, and the person was right. And I said, you're saying the very thing I said in that podcast, and that she's done this with their permission. She did it to give props to them. It was their magazine, their people, their photographers, their makeup people, their fashion designers. All of it was them. The only thing that wasn't Chinese was her. And she was doing everything she was doing with their permission. Anyway, I'm going to be posting this posting on the Anjanette Speak website blog. That's Anjanette Speak 66.wordpress.com. I'm also going to be putting a video on YouTube, which is youtube.com/Anjanette Speak, on my YouTube channel, so that you can hear what I'm saying, and I'll have a slideshow there with pictures of the women, and with the pictures of the squad, and also pictures of the photo pictures of the alleged tweets, and some of the different responses to everything. So this Friday, the 19th, I will be doing Eclectic Weekends at 11 p.m. as usual. I ask that you, if you want to, you can click onto the link that I'll be posting. Usually I post on Facebook, but I post on Facebook, I post on Tumblr, I post on Instagram, Twitter, so LinkedIn, I'm trying to think, likewise, quite a few social media sites. So everywhere that you see the station head link, you are free to post on there and leave and comment your song request. You can also comment your song request on my Facebook page of the same name, which is Anjanette Potter, my first and last name. So any song requests that you have, you're also free to comment on my YouTube as well. Any of your song requests, and my podcast is actually based on Anchor, so wherever you see any of my postings when it comes to my podcast, I've actually added a link that you can leave recordings to give me your commentary or anything on any of the subjects that I post about. If you want to comment, if you want to just go add your 2 cents, If you have any ideas for podcast topics that you want to leave, you're welcome to do that too. In fact, you can do that on any of the forums. Like, why don't you ever talk about such and such and such and such? And, I can, always record my response. Anyway, I love you guys. Also, this Friday, I will be doing my review of Mary L. McCarthy's Heal Yourself Through Journaling Power on my Bookworm blog, bookworm66.wordpress.com. It's the second of my two participated dates in the WOW Women on Writing blog book tours that they like to sponsor. So Bookworm hosts. We host quite a bit. If you've looked before, we host a lot. And so we host. I usually wind up going ahead and taking 2 dates, because I like to interview the authors, and I also like to do their guest posts, and I also like to review their books. I can tell you right now, I'm a very big bookworm. I love books. I also love music, but I love books. And it's an opportunity to get free books. I'll give that nice little secret thing there. So it's nice. The book is actually pretty good from what I've seen of it. So that review I will be doing that review and posting it this Friday. So anyway, and also I will be celebrating my birthday Saturday. So you guys have a good rest of the week and everything. I'll be posting this. This is Thursday, I believe. Thursday, July. Ooh. Let me see, the 19th this Friday. Anyway, I'm not worried about it, but anyway, I will, see everybody. I will talk to everybody Friday on at 11. Feel free, if you're, following me on Bookworm, feel free to make Miss McCarthy feel welcome. Make sure that you post if you have any questions for her, because she will be stopping by. If you have any questions about the book or about the subject matter, which is journaling power, feel free to leave them. And I will see you guys this Friday. Be blessed. Bye-bye, and I love you.